Mr. McLoof, the last appearance you gave us 3 days' notice of your non-attendance. Why such short notice?
Sorry, Deputy, I think you may not have been in here when we
Oh,
addressed this point. Oh, you were? Well,
I heard you say it was regrettable. I didn't
no,
hear.
it's completely regrettable.
I didn't hear why.
No, it was 3 days written notice, and it should have been much earlier. It was a mistake. I had expected this to have been, the committee to have been informed much earlier than that, and it shouldn't have happened.
By who?
By me and my office.
So hold on. We got 3 days' notice. When did you say we should have received notice and we didn't? And who was responsible for not telling us?
Well, ultimately, I'm accountable for the fact that you didn't get the formal notice.
Just to alert you, I have 10 minutes, so it's 8:45. You said you thought we would be alerted much sooner. By who?
By my office.
Yes. Who in your office? Is
Sorry.
it anybody here that's with you?
No, I'm not going to start getting into who in my office.
Well,
I
no,
take responsibility for it.
I understand that,
Yeah.
that you take responsibility, and so you should, because it was absolutely disrespectful. The question I asked you was why we only received 3 days' notice.
Well, it was an error. You should have received it much sooner. And my understanding was that we had communicated verbally to the committee. Clearly, that was inadequate, and we should have. I should have written that letter much earlier.
Absolutely, yeah. Other than thinking it was okay just to send in.
No, I didn't think it was okay. I thought I was confirming in writing something that was already known, and clearly that was a mistake.
Very
to
disrespectful.
confirm that it wasn't already known, just to confirm that it wasn't already known. It's the Tuesday of that week that was first I learned.
No, that's. I'm just saying this is what I thought I was doing.
Just giving that clarity as chair of the committee.
Yeah.
So Mr. McLoof is wrong again in that it hadn't been identified verbally.
The first notice I had of it was on the Tuesday.
That's fine. So you're wrong twice there, Mr. McLoof. I want to go back to that initial meeting where we were discussing the unauthorised transfer of 738 million euros. What is in place to ensure that that won't happen again?
We've basically now, what we were doing, the process we had in place before essentially
Did it work?
involved, well, it worked for a long time, but it involved checking at the end of the day, and it made certain assumptions that other checks would have been made by others. So what we've now done is changed our process along with the department changing its process. So I'm satisfied that the end-to-end process, which involves making checks before we make the payments, will ensure that incident just is not repeated.
So is it as simple as that? Was there any repercussion? Was anybody held accountable? Was anybody reprimanded? 730 million, just like that.
We changed the process. I mean, our policy.
I know you changed the process. The question I asked, was there any repercussion for any employee? Because clearly somebody had to be responsible. Now, we might not know who was supposed to advise the committee other than yourself that you couldn't make it. Yeah. But surely we know who was responsible here. And what I'm asking specifically is who was held accountable, what were the repercussions? And yes, you've changed the process. That should have been there, I assume, in the first place.
What we've done is...
Did you hear the specific of the question?
Yeah, I did, and I'm about to answer it. So what we've done is implemented the philosophy that we adopt in the bank, which is when we identify a mistake, we own it, we fix it, and we learn from it. Everybody involved in that process and has adopted that philosophy and has accepts their responsibility for their individual part in it.
And so has there been any repercussions?
No, absolutely.
Was anybody's
People
bonus?
are disappointed. People are disappointed that there was a mistake made of such significance.
Okay,
and
I'll just ask it in a simpler
they've
fashion.
all worked to
Just
actually address it.
a binary question. Were there any repercussions for any employee of the central bank? Yes or no?
Well, the repercussions that I've just explained. Sorry, have we dismissed anybody? Is that what you are asking?
No, not necessarily.
We have not dismissed anybody.
Like, was
as a
there a
result of
bonus
it.
removed?
We don't pay bonuses.
Okay, well, was there any repercussion that was meaningful?
No, our philosophy is
Well,
to
tell
get
me this.
people.
Look,
Sorry, I'm sorry. This
What
is an
would you
important
have-
point,
what-
Deputy.
Well, I can't get the answer I require, so I'll ask it differently. What would have happened if this was one of the many agencies that you regulate? If this had happened, what would you have done as the regulator?
We would have expected them to have owned it, fixed it, and learnt from it and changed their processes. That's what we would have expected. At the end of the day,
And would you
you're
have
talking
instituted a fine
hypotheticals.
for such a breach?
No, not necessarily. It depends, we're now talking about hypotheticals. It would have depended on exactly what the background to the circumstances were. In this particular case, on this particular issue, the process had worked for many, many years. And on this occasion, it didn't work. And absolutely, that was regrettable and a failing, complete failing. And
that you take responsibility for?
well, the department and us have changed our end-to-end processes to make sure that doesn't happen again.
And you're confident?
I'm very confident.
And is it the same type of confidence that we see in relation to leaks to journalists?
No,
They're regrettable, but they just happen.
I am completely confident that no leaks have come from the central bank.
And tell me, how so are you so confident that it was? So it was either
Because our values...
one of the other two departments because it wasn't you, is that what you were saying?
I'm just being clear. Our values in particular of integrity, mean that we would not do this.
Well,
never mind the legal obligations
Well,
that we have.
let's go through it then. So is it a coincidence, shall we say, that the day before the CNAG Section 2 report was due to be published, and that in December that there was a similar leak with the same journalist and the same publication that involved the same two entities that are before us today? There's one common denominator to both leaks. It's the central bank. Is it just a coincidence? I'm not accusing you.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with you.
You don't agree
No,
with
I
me?
don't. If there is any evidence, if anybody has any evidence that the central bank made those leaks...
What is it that you don't agree with, Mr. McLuhan?
No, I don't think the central bank's the only party involved in this.
I said you're the only common denominator of the other parties. You've been involved in both of the issues.
I'm saying to you, if anybody knows...
So do you agree with that? You are the common denominator within the fact that there's two leaks, one common denominator involved of the parties, and it's the central bank.
No, I don't.
You don't agree with that?
I don't agree with that.
How can you not agree with that? You are the common denominator.
In fairness, Deputy, my office is a common denominator as well.
Well, I'm sure you wouldn't have released against yourself.
And believe me,
CNAG.
no, it certainly didn't.
think
So is the
so.
department, Deputy.
Yes.
So there are more than one party. But let me just repeat this.
There is more than one party.
For everybody in the room and everybody who's listening, if there's any evidence that the central bank and a central bank official was involved in this leak,
What I'd
I
like
want
to
to know
see from
because they
you,
will be dismissed.
what I'd like to see from you, Mr. McLuhan, is concern.
I'm very, very concerned
Correct, and that's
and
what I'd
unhappy
like.
about it.
So you're quite happy that it could.
Unhappy.
You're unhappy, and so you should be. And I think that respectfully, I don't think you can actually say 100% that it didn't come from you, no more than anyone can say it did. But I would hope that there is a process in place to ensure that if it did, you could identify it. Systems checks. And I hope you will instigate some form of an inquiry to ensure that your assertion that it didn't come from the central bank is correct. And will that be happening?
I think it's already happening, but yes.
It will. Thank you.